Gemara in Yevamos, in the middle of Daf Kuf Gimel, on the bottom of Amud Aleph, and it goes to the top of Kuf Gimel Beis. An interesting Gemara. The Gemara is talking about by Yal, and Yal's Aveira Lishma, and the Gemara asks the Kasha of Hakam Mesanya Me Aveira. That discusses what exactly the Gemara's question was. But from there, answers the Gemara, Rabbi Yechonah Mishum Rishim Beichai Kol Tevasan Shorishayim. All every time a Rasha does good, Roy Yetzel Tzadikim, it's not appreciated. To the contrary, it's not considered good for a tzaddik. Shenema Yisham Alocha Pen Tadaber Yaakov Mitay Vadra. And the Gemara explains from which is a pasuk by Lavan, Bishlam Ra Lechai, that by Lavan we understand why Hashem told him that he shouldn't harm Yaakov. Lechai, that we understand. Because Baruch Hu doesn't want that Yaakov should be harmed. Elo Toiva Mailo, why is the Eibishter telling Lavan that he shouldn't harm Yaakov? That any time there's good that a Rasha will do to a Yid, to a tzaddik, it's considered bad, and that's done, and that's why by Yal, even though she would have had hana from these beers, but she's not gonna. It's not appreciated at all. It's not considered hana because it's a toiva from a Rasha. That's the Gemara. Now Rashi explains what's the reason for this why is this toiva from that comes from a Rasha not appreciated by a tzaddik? So Rashi explains like this: Shesayin Rishayim, they hate the Rishayim. V'kotza nefesh tzaddik b'hanasam, and a tzaddik he has disdain. The nefesh of a tzaddik disdains the any pleasure that he's going to get from a Rasha. Hilkach lav hana, who it's not considered hana. So that's what Rashi explains. That's the reason why kol tevasan shorishayim lo yetzel tzaddikim. It's some sort of a disdain and innate hate that they have for the Rasha and anything that comes from it. That's what Rashi explains. So the Cheshik Shleima and other Rishon and other Achronim, the Cheshik Shleima and other Achronim ask that Rashi doesn't seem to stem with the Gemarah later. The Gemarah later seems to say a whole different reason. In the Nachas Yaakov, they ask like this: that the Gemarah later, the next piece of Gemarah goes like this: Bishlam Hasam. The Gemara is referring to Lavan. Bishlam Hasam Dilma Mitgalei Shma David's Kachavim. That the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want Lavan to do anything to Yaakov, because we're afraid that if he's going to, Rashi says when he says Lama Ganafta Selikai, he might mention the name of the Avodah Zarah. That would be a harm to Yaakov. Presumably, that's in other words, even though he was in a good way and he's saying it nicely, he's not harming him bad, but that's still, he might say and that's why we don't want any good from a Rasha, because he might mention the name of his Avodas Kachavim. What kind of bad could come out from a bia from Sisra? And the Gemara answers the Kashadi Bazuama, that some sort of a Zuama that went into Yah from the bia. The Gemara explains that Yidden don't have Zuama or Goyim have Zuama, and therefore, that's the bad that could come out from the Hatava, from the supposed Hana that Sisra was giving Yah. That's the Gemara. So, everyone asks this kasha that Rashi. Why did Rashi explain that the reason why Tevasan Shal Tzadikim is Tevasan Shal Rishayim is Rahi Eitzel Tzadikim because of their hate for the Rasha and anything that comes to them from him. The Gemara should have said, what was wrong with the Gemara's reason? The Gemara said a different reason. The Gemara said that what's wrong with the Hatava, what was wrong with the Hatava from Yah was the problem of Shadi Bazuama. That's the question. So I was thinking like this. The truth is that the Gemara doesn't really is a little bit hard to understand. The Gemara says, Bishlam Bahasa, when the Gemara is trying to explain what the bad was, what's bad by Lavan, Bishlam Mahasam Dilma Mitgalei Shma David Kachavim. You know why Tevasan Shal Rishayim is Rahi Eitzel Tzadikim? Because we're afraid that maybe it's going to come to the Haskara of the name of Avodah Zarah. We just got finished saying Rahi Eitzel Tzadikim. It's always bad. And furthermore, when the Gemara asks the kasha, but over here by Yah, what was wrong? And the Gemara answers Al Shadi Zuama also. only because over here there's a problem with Shadi Zuama. But what's with all the rest of the cases? We have a blanket case from Rabbi Yechim, a blanket klal. Rabbi Yechim kol tevason shel rishayim ra he etzel tzadikim. All teva from a guy is bad for a yid. There's not all. There's specific cases. If there's a chashash, then maybe he's going to mention the Shema David Kachavim, or it's going to be a Shadi Zuama problem. But otherwise, we have nothing to worry about. So what's the Kol Tevas Shorishayim Roi Yetzel Tzadikim? So it could be that Rashi was bothered by this exact question, and Rashi Taka says, and therefore Rashi explained that Kol Tevas Shorishayim Roi Yetzel Tzadikim. It refers to the svara that Rashi explained that a Rasha is hated by a tzaddik to the extent that anything that comes from him is not appreciated. And that's what Rashi explained. So what's the Gemarah later discussing? The Gemarah later is discussing like this, that both in the case of Lavan and the case of Yal, it seems like there was a possibility of good and of bad. Why? Because the Gemarah says like this. Because by Lavan it's simple. It says Hakadosh Baruch Hu told Lavan, "Hisham lecha pen tadaber and Yaakov mitoiv adra," and also by Yal also. By Yal it says kol toivason shel rishayim. In other words, that there's good and there's bad. There's the toivason and there's the bad. So one wants to understand. 1 second. By Lavan we understand what's the good and the bad. There's the good, meaning if he doesn't say anything. The bad is if he might mention the Shema David Kachavim. The good is also not appreciated because that's the call of Kosher Tavas and Shoroshim Roy Yetzel Tzadikim. But there's a good and there's a bad. But by Yah, what's the Tavas and Shoroshim? As if there's some sort of a bad. What kind of a bad could there be? And on that, the Gemarah answers that the bad is the Shadi Ba Zuamo.